Welcome to UND Insider Weekly. The gang's all together again. That would be Tom Miller, Brad Schlossman from the Grand Forks Herald, Paul Ralston, UND Athletics. I'm Tim Hennessy, UND Athletics. And we're going to talk about hockey, first of all. St. Lawrence, last weekend at UND. And somebody, I don't know who it was, Brian Jones, men's basketball coach. What's St. Lawrence? Division I hockey program in Canton, New York, had the nation's leading scorer. And Brad, the kid was pretty good.
Yeah, they had a lot of good offensive players, I thought. Obviously, Greg Carey, very good. There's a reason he's the nation's leading scorer. He had 5 points on the weekend, I think. They had a defenseman, too, Justin Baker, who was really dynamic and added a lot of offense back there. And coming into the weekend, we knew they were a really good offensive team, and I think they showed everyone at the Ralph why they are.
The different situation with Greg Carey is that he's not a dynamic type of player. But people have said he's kind of like Thomas Vanek, although I don't think he skates as well as Thomas Vanek. I go all the way back to Phil Berger of Northern Michigan, who used to get the Berger bundles, score goals and bundles. Same type of player, but obviously effective.
Yeah, I mean, if you give him a chance to score, it's he put it in the back of the net a couple times, and a couple times the goaltenders weren't able to handle a shot, and it left a rebound and an easy tap in for one of his teammates. So. They had the #1 power play in the country on Saturday morning, and he was a big reason why.
Tom, you saw UND against BU, the Saturday night game at Boston University, when they were extremely competitive, played extremely well. Were you surprised when they came out Friday, and as Coach Axtell told me after the game, laid an egg?
Well, you thought that maybe that UND could build off, putting 58 shots on BU, but at the same time, maybe you thought BU might have had something to do with that. They're a team that gives up a ton of shots, so it was going to be interesting to see if they came back and maintained some of that offense, but I guess wasn't overly surprised with how they ended up getting a split.
They go, and it's an NCHC competition this weekend at Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I don't know if it makes any difference whether or not any of these guys have ever been there before, but it's going to be an entirely different style of hockey this weekend, right, Brad?
Kalamazoo, or Western Michigan's one of the top defensive teams in the country. St. Lawrence is one of the top offensive teams in the country, so it'll be interesting to see how they go from one to the other, but generating offense hasn't come real easy for UND this season, so they're going to have to grind for all the points they can get this weekend.
We'll talk more about it with Dane Jackson in a little while in the coaches' corner, but let's talk a little bit about the women's hockey team as they took on the Russian team, the Russian Olympic team at Ralph Engelstad Arena last weekend, losing the first game, but then coming back with a shutout win by Lexi Shaw in the second game, not playing the Olympic-bound players on UND as sort of a precursor, however you want to say it, to games that they'll be playing this season without those players. So I guess that was big that they were able to at least compete with that Russian team, huh?
Yeah, well, they ended up getting a tie that first night. It probably felt like a loss because the team didn't play real well in the first 40 minutes, and then the last 20 they played really well and dominated, and I think Idalski wanted to see that the whole game. But it's a good, you get to see what the lines could look like. That's going to be a team that might not generate offense real easily without some of their Olympian, and some of their other players are going to get power play roles, penalty killer roles, and this was their first chance to do some of that.
My question is, we have kind of a goaltending competition going on here, starting to evolve with this women's team a little bit, with the youngster starting to get some opportunities?
I think so. They've been splitting them, and the way that both of them have been playing, I don't think right now there's a reason to go to one yet. I think they're both giving Coach Idalski reasons to keep playing, and I'm expecting we'll see both of them this weekend against a good Clarkson team.
Can Lexi Shaw be the goaltender? Everybody that's winning national championships is having world-class goaltenders. Can Lexi Shaw be that?
I think so.
Eventually?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it helps her to have the defensive core in front of her that she does. This is probably the best D core that UND's had, and they've been playing a lot in the offensive zone, and that's probably a goaltender's best friend.
Let's talk a little bit about the men's basketball team and the hype that went with it, and we'll see some of it as the program progresses here. But the Bison win obviously was big, and everybody got excited about that. And then they went out west and got their comeuppance 3 times, Paul. What the heck happened out there?
Friday was not a good performance. Coach Jones was disappointed in that. They didn't have the effort and energy that he kind kind of expects out of his team typically. That was kind of one of those where you're like, are you guys thinking a little too much, you're puffing up your chest a little too much after that NDSU win and not preparing yourselves and readying yourselves what is coming from a very good Cal Poly team. I thought the effort and energy was there both Saturday and Sunday against Oregon and Pacific. What hurt North Dakota in those games is turnovers and turnovers against zone defense. Both those teams saw the zone be effective against North Dakota in that opening game against Cal Poly, where they really put a 3-2 zone on North Dakota and really kind of got them off their rhythm and off their game. And both those teams applied zones at different times or throughout the games on Saturday and Sunday and had various effects on North Dakota where North Dakota would turn it over and that would lead to easy baskets, and that's where you saw the deficits.
Well, Tom, they made their bed. Now they're going to have to sleep in it with the zone defenses, right, the rest of the way?
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is you saw how much they need Josh Schuler in that lineup. I know he's not a starter, but he's a guy who makes a lot of right decisions and can shoot the ball from the outside. He was injured for the weekend. They hope to have him back here in the future. Cole Steffens, a guy who just got eligible, transfer from Wisconsin Green Bay, who also will give them some outside shooting in the future, but he's just not quite comfortable yet. Just got eligible, hasn't played a whole lot in the last year or so. But those are two guys who, like you said, teams are going to copycat what works, and they're going to see a lot of zone. And those are two guys that are going to have to help them shoot their way out of that zone. Forcing things towards the basket isn't going to work as well as moving the ball and getting some good outside looks.
Well, nobody likes seeing zone defenses, do they?
No, not at all. Because I think
does anybody like playing them?
No, certainly not. Especially
well, get rid of it.
Especially not this team. And this team is built to get and attack the basket. And one of the things that 3-2 zone does at times, it limits you. It's kind of the easy way of taking away the drive a little bit. And when the NCAA is really emphasizing offense and attacking and giving the attacking player the benefit of the doubt, I think the zone defense sometimes is just it's difficult to watch. I will say this: if you're a UND fan and you're so excited about the way they played against NDSU, don't panic. The team was disappointed themselves on Sunday night when they left the building. That's about as down as a team. They're going to refocus on this. I think Coach Jones really going to use it as a teaching tool, an eye opener. And this is a veteran bunch that wants to get things right, and they're going to use this weekend despite the tough losses. I just get the indication that they're ready to move forward and use it as a benefit.
I think people need to remember the quality that they were playing out in Oregon, with Oregon being a top 14 team, kind of on the lines of Wisconsin. People were excited about the way they played against Wisconsin. They still lost by 18. Well, losing by only a handful to Oregon is in a similar light, being they're both, high-end programs. Pacific, also a team that has 7 seniors, tournament tested. Those are very tough programs to play.
I say we go NBA on it and outlaw the zone.
I'm with you. I'd like to see it go.